Well, hello. Hey, everyone. It appears that I'm now live. I'm sorry, I did have a slight technical glitch for a couple of minutes. I had this like kaleidoscope of colors on my screen and it was quite mesmerizing. And then, like a minute into it, I thought, I think I better do something. Anyway, so hello. I am not sure how many of you are with me live. I know I can see a few people there. Hello, and welcome. Really excited to be doing this. It is one of my busiest, most favorite weeks of the year because all I seem to do this week every year is bake honey cakes. So for those of you who don't know, the festival or the Jewish New Year is approaching. It's going to be first days on Saturday. So from Friday night, we start feasting. And like everything in the Jewish calendar, I like to make it all about the food. And at this time of year, what we do is we cook sweet things, so that we have a sweet new year. And that applies to everybody. You don't have to be Jewish to be cooking this food. It is delicious. You don't need to be celebrating New Year to be eating this fantastic honey cake. So the cake I'm making today is called Gina's Hair Raising Honey Cake. And it was first published in our very first cookbook in 2011. And it's got a very funny story. So why is it called Gina's Hair Raising Honey Cake? Well, comes from a friend of mine, Karen, who got it from a friend of hers and a friend of mine, Gina. And the story goes like this. I'm sorry if you've heard it already, but it's just worth telling. So Gina was making the cake, and you'll see you need a stand mixer. We'll talk about that in a second. And you put in the ingredients. And Gina was leaning too far into the mixer bowl, and her hair got caught around the beater, and it pulled a little chunk of her hair out, clump, I should say. It was not good. I mean, she wasn't terribly injured, so don't panic about that. But then it became Gina's hair raising honey cake. So lesson 1, stand mixer, hair tied back, don't get too close. So hello to all of you, those of you who have said hello. Hey, Paul, and hey, Chris, great to see you. I hope that you are all cooking along, those of you who are watching. All right, so that's the story of the cake. Now, I posted a half recipe on the YouTube description so that we could start small, especially for those of you who haven't made it before. I'm going to be doing actually the full recipe, which I posted the link for, which is double. So you don't need to worry about that. It's just double. Method is exactly the same. Firstly, put your ovens on, please, 180 degrees Celsius. That's 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, I'm using my old oven, which is like 22 years old, and I am using the fan at 180, but that's equivalent to a conventional oven at 180. So I suggest that if you've got a good fan-forced oven, you probably want to do around 165. I call 180 the temperature that I cook most cakes on. So you just think about what you bake most cakes on and do it at that temperature. Oven on, 180 degrees right now. Now, let's talk about what tin you're going to use. Pretty much for this cake, you can use any tin. I just have one word of warning. It's a really liquid batter, which means that if you put it in a tin, an old spring form that doesn't close properly, you are going to get a cake that leaks out the bottom. Now, you can, of course, put foil around the outside to stop it from leaking, but sometimes, it's not enough. So I suggest you use a tin that does not have a spring form or a loose bottom if possible. And if you do, use foil around the bottom. It is best cooked in a tin with a hole in the middle or in a log. It's a very, as I said, liquid cake, and it takes a lot of effort and a lot of time to cook it through. And if it has a hole in the middle, it just cooks more evenly all the way through. So my favorite tin for the double batch, for the full recipe, is this one, which is a silicon tin that we used to sell years ago. We don't anymore. And that might be hard to find, but if you can find that, it's just a perfect tin for the full size recipe. If you're going to do the quantity that I posted, the half, I'll call it, then you can do it in a loaf tin like that, okay? And I just want to talk to you about lining. Sorry, you can also do it in a muffin pan, but you need to put a liner in, either a patty pan or some baking paper pushed into the bottom. You can't just do a patty pan on its own because this mixture it'll just spill everywhere, okay? Hope everyone is up to scratch with that. I just want to show you how I line this. So these are the ones Every year I make a lot. I make for some friends, and these are really great for gifting because you make it and you just give it in that. But I find that the batter sticks to it still and they can't get it out to serve it. So I'm going to line it. So this is what I use for lining. Firstly, this. I call this kitchen glue because that's exactly what it is. And I'm just going to spray this with this, it's canola oil spray. I don't know about you, but the taste of this is a bit yuck. So I don't really want to eat it. That said, in the silicone tin, the only thing that stops it from sticking is this. So sometimes you have to use it, but it's not my favorite. So I've got my tin or my pan, and I'm just going to use some baking paper. I'm going to measure, I'm just going to do about that size. Now, I just want to point out to you that baking paper's got a natural roll in it. So if you put it in that way, when you put it in the oven, the baking paper is going to roll onto the batter and it's going to stick, and you're going to be really upset with yourself because the cake will be all messy. So remember to do it that way so that it folds naturally out. Also, don't have too much of an overhang because you don't want it to flap into the cake. So that looks a bit right. I'm just going to have to cut that a bit shorter. Okay. And so I'm just putting it in like that. Okay, and that's quite good. I've got just like about 1.5 centimeters up at each side, and you can even it up if you want. And then you can cut these scraps and put them at the side, just like that. One at one side, there. And of course, I would want it to be much more perfectly aligned than I have done it, because, you know, I like it to be just right. Okay, so anyone who's just come on now, remember to put your oven on at 180, and we're just talking about what tins we're going to use. So that's beautifully lined, well, reasonably beautifully lined. Let's not get carried away. And that's a very nice loaf tin ready to go. All right, no, I won't be needing that. Now, just one more thing. If you want to line this, sometimes it's easier, I find, if you just line the bottom, but you've got to be able to line it. You know, you need a ring. And the easiest way to do that, and I'll show you super quickly and then we'll move on to the cake, is just take a piece of baking paper, do this, just measure the circle size, just for starters. And then I'm just going to fold this. I've got the circle, the size of it, and I'm just going to fold this into 4. I'm just trying to save you having to cut all the way around the circle, because who wants to do that, right? You can actually fold it again. So you see I've done that. You can still see the line. Take my scissors. And I'm cutting just inside the line. And then we need to make some room for the hole. So for the, you know, center thing of the tin, I'm just going to do that. Magic. Okay. That's perfect way to line it in. No, I don't do that. I will use that tomorrow. Okay, let's get rid of all the stuff and let's start cooking. Okay, so here we go. Shall we start with the honey cake? What you need prepared, and hopefully if you're cooking along, you've already got your ingredients ready. Let's start with the dry ingredients, because this cake is divided into dry, wet, and water. Okay, you need 3 elements in this cake because that's how we're going to put it all together. So for the dry elements, you need self-raising flour, plain flour, bicarbonate of soda, and cocoa powder. So just a note on the bicarbonate of soda, it's not baking powder, it's baking soda. It's a different thing. And the thing about baking soda is that it needs an acid to react and to make the cake rise, and that is honey. Okay. So with our dry ingredients, we're going to do this now. I need you to get a sieve or a colander. It's either this or that. Either one works. If you don't have these, you can just get a whisk and you can whisk them together in the bowl. But I'm going to use this one. This one sort of reminds me of baking with my mum when I was little. She had one of these old-fashioned things. And I'm just going to put everything in there. And what we're trying to do with this is we're just mixing, aerating slightly, like putting a bit of air into it, but it's more just combining these dry ingredients really well. So I'm putting both the flours in and the cocoa powder. So this is unsweetened cocoa powder. It's not drinking chocolate. It is the one, if if I ate it now, it's like quite bitter. If you want to make a hot chocolate with this, you of course would need to add some sugar. I'm just trying to explain to you what cocoa powder is if you don't know, and cocoa powder is going in. So it doesn't make it a chocolate cake, but it makes it a honey cake with a really deep flavour. I just love that part of it. And the baking soda goes in as well. Let's get rid of these. Yeah, okay. So I'm trying to clean up as I go along because I have been told that my bench is too messy. You know what? I've done so many videos, live videos, and I was told once by one person, but I haven't forgotten it, and I keep trying to keep tidy, but it's quite hard. All right, so I'm just going to do this so you can see, just aerating and combining. Sometimes the cocoa powder has lumps, and it helps to get the lumps out by doing this. It's a very nice, soothing activity. Raining down the flour onto a lovely pile. All right. I realize it's very hard, unlike a Zoom where you can talk. It's hard to type and cook. So those of you who are cooking along are not going to be typing at the same time. But hopefully I've answered all your questions. Now, the problem with this is that it does not quite reach the bottom of the amount of flour. So, all right. Okay, that can go away. And I have my dry ingredients here, which I'm just going to set aside in the bowl, quite well combined. Okay, let's talk wet ingredients, which is the fun part. Okay, let me just talk to you about how we're going to mix this cake. You can do it by hand. I did one by hand the other day. It's quite hard work though, but you need a whisk and a strong arm and a big bowl, and you need to work hard because you're combining all these ingredients in a bowl, but you can do it. The next thing would be to use a handheld mixer, which is also fine. But I find for this cake, you'll see because of the way we do it, the stand mixer is just easier, and but you can do whichever you prefer. Okay, so I'm going to take the bowl of the stand mixer, and I'm going to put everything straight into the bowl. Just move that out of the way. All right, so I'm going to start with the sugar. So let's go through the wet ingredients first. We have caster sugar, or white sugar if you've got. Caster just dissolves a bit quicker. Caster sugar, oil. I'm using this one. This is my favorite oil for cooking, actually. It's just grapeseed, and the brand is Azalea. It's a brand that I like. In Australia, Woolworths have it, Coles don't, and I really, really like it for cooking. I also use lots of olive oil, but for this cake, this is what I use. Okay, so I've got oil, 4 eggs, eggs. You've got 2 in your half quantity, some vanilla essence or extract, and honey. Now, I'm going to measure the honey straight into the bowl with the scales, and I'll show you how I do that. It's sort of quite fun. Okay, yeah, the things that make me happy. What can I say? All right, let's put everything in. We'll start with the sugar, the oil, and I'm going to put in the vanilla, just a half a teaspoon or a teaspoon if you really love vanilla. Okay, how are we going, those who are cooking? Hopefully you're busy. And I don't like to sit eggs on sugar while I'm doing other things, so I'm going to put the honey in next. So this is what I'm going to do. I put the mixing bowl on the scales, turn it on, make sure it's 0 and it's on grams. And if you're doing the quantity that was underneath the recipe, you need 250 grams of honey, and I'm going to do 500 grams. If you're using one of these containers, make sure you've cleaned this because the honey will drip. So make sure you've just given that a wipe before you start this. And then I just tip it in, and you've got to be careful that you get close to the number, but it's sort of a challenge to get it exactly on the number you want. If it goes over by 10 or 20 grams, it's absolutely fine. Okay, here goes. All right. I don't know why I find this fun, but I actually do. So it's going up. So you measure whatever you need, probably 250 grams if you're doing the amount under the video. I'm doing 500 because I'm doing the original full quantity. 480, 90, 503. That's good. All right. So I have got my honey in there. It can go away. Okay, I'm just trying to keep it tidy here. And now the eggs. So if you're one of those people that likes to look at the eggs before you put them in, then you will do it like this. I don't even beat them first. Otherwise, you can just crack them straight into the bowl, which is what I usually do when I'm in a hurry, but we've got time. We're not in a rush. We're here to bake honey cake, people. We've got plenty of time. All right. All right, here we go. Eggs are done. Everything from there is done. I'm just going to pop that away. All right. So, just going to get my teacup out of the way. You know, I often put all these things in different places, and then when I watch the video back later, I'm like, why did I leave that teacup there? It looks so terrible. So I'm trying to make it look as clean and uncluttered as I can. I have my dry ingredients, my wet ingredients, and I have 1.5 cups, or you've got 3/4 cup of hot or boiling water. So before I started the video, I measured 1.5 cups of boiling water, and now it's just a bit under boiling. But anything from hot to boiling is absolutely fine. So I have my 3 things again: dry, wet, and water. So let me start. I'm using the whisk attachment because I do want a little bit of air in it. Excuse the noise. I'm going to have to whisk for a little bit. It's going to be a few minutes, okay? Hopefully you're whisking along and the noise will not bother you. If it bothers you, put it on mute for a few minutes. Oh. Okay, here we go. Always start slow so it doesn't end up all over you. And what we're looking for is a lovely, thick, pale yellow mixture. You'll know when it's there. It'll just take a minute or two. I have my lovely big spatula ready, which I'm going to use to scrape down the sides. This is a great one. Chester is really my favourite, especially for a big batter recipe. All right. Sticky from the honey. All right. Just check this is right. 375. Just going to add a touch more. Okay. So you can see it's a lovely yellow colour. And it's just going to get a bit lighter as it gets more aerated. Okay, I'm just going to stop the noise for a moment. I'm going to give it a scrape down. So what we're trying to do is dissolve the sugar. Oh, now, that's my timer, because I wanted to show you what the cakes looked like when they came out of the oven without you having to wait with me for an hour, 40 minutes or an hour. I'll just keep that going and I'll grab these. Bear with me. Okay, have a look. I'm going to bring it around so you can see it. You can see they are going to crack sometimes, and that's okay. But what I like to do is to put my hand on the top. It really feels set all the way. There's a little bit in the middle that's not quite, but that's okay. That's going to be a sticky bit. Okay. So 1, 2. So in case you didn't hear that, these are the 3 that I put into the oven. They've been in for 40 minutes. This is one full mixture, the link on the website, not the underneath the video. And that makes 3 of these. And I only fill this to halfway. That's the thing. Whatever tin you use, and we'll get there when we fill up the tin, halfway or just over. If you fill it more, it's going to go all over the sides and into the bottom of the oven. And there is nothing worse than having cooked, burnt honey cake on the bottom of your oven. It's just so annoying to get off. So be careful. Half full. Okay, it rises so much. It's a beautiful loaf. Again, with your hand, I can feel it's cooked all the way to the top. So I'm going to put those aside to cool. Yum. I always prefer to take it out just a tiny bit under rather than over. Now, the thing about this cake that I did not mention, which is super important, is it's better on day 2 or 3 or even 4. On the day it's baked, it's nice, but it sort of develops this incredible stickiness as time goes on. So I'm baking today for Friday night. I'll do a few tomorrow as well, but not after. I wouldn't do it on Thursday. I mean, I do it on Thursday, but please do it ahead. It's so much better. Okay, back to this. Let's beat it for another minute or so. So we're waiting for it to be smooth, aerated, and lovely, and like you'll see, it sort of becomes quite a luscious, foamy thing. It really does. Okay, so what I do, these cakes that I'm doing now, I'm going to, once they're completely at room temperature, I'm going to wrap them in either a cellophane bag and seal it, or the bigger cakes I'm going to wrap in foil till I'm ready to eat them. They need to be well wrapped so that they sort of do their own thing, you know, of this, I don't know, maybe they just become, something happens to the texture of it and they become that delicious sticky thing that I just mentioned. All right, how are we going? Hopefully everybody is following along and we're nearly ready for the next part. Very exciting. I'm very happy to have cakes at every stage to show you. But I just didn't think it was fair to make you wait while one was in the oven until it came out. So that's why I did that one. All right, this is looking great. Let's have a look. Just make sure that you can't see any sugar. I can't really feel any sugar crystals. And you can see it's really quite thick and lovely now. All right, I'm going to give it another 30 seconds and then we'll go to the next step. Okay, it needs to be smooth and thick, no visible sugar crystals. The egg needs to be fully mixed in. Smells delicious. The smell of honey in baking, raw and baked, is just fantastic. It reminds me of Jewish New Year. The smell in the house now is just like honey from bottom to top, from side to side. Honey smell everywhere. I love it. I love it. The funny thing is, like a week after Jewish New Year, or 10 days after Jewish New Year, after Yom Kippur, I can't look at honey cake again till the following New Year. Like, it's just like there's so much. I bake so many, I eat so much of it that I just can't do it. So this is the peak honey cake season we need to enjoy. All right. Now what we need to do is alternate the water, the dry ingredients, and the water. Now, you can do it like this. You can lift this up and you can do a spoon or a spoon and a half, then put it down and then get ready with a bit of water. What I like to do is use this as sort of a base for the water to splash all over rather than just be in one stream. A bit of water, and then I turn it on low again and let that mix really well, scraping down the sides as you go, and then repeat it. But what I do, because I'm always looking to do something, you know, shortcut, is just do it like this while it's going. I've got it on the lowest speed, and I'm just going to do it while it's beating. Okay, 1, and then a bit of water. And you can use your spatula if you want or not. And that's it. And I'm just going to keep going till all the flour and all the water is mixed in really well. See, now I'm even getting quicker by tipping it. And a bit more. You might want to stop it halfway and just give it a scrape down. You know, if I'm in a hurry, I don't do any of this. I just throw it in a few. I always do it in batches though and mix it, alternate, but I don't scrape it down till the end. But it's probably better to take your time and do it properly. Okay, see how good this big spatula is? I just love it. And then we're going to go again. Again, low speed. And the last bit of water. Okay, that's it. So, you know, it's funny. I have made, I think, 8 cakes today. This is the, maybe this is the 8th. And each one looks slightly different. And I guess that's the, I'm not a factory. This is not a cake factory. So nothing is really precise. I do weigh everything on digital scales. But you know what? Sometimes you add a little bit of extra something or a little bit less of something else. And so I have come over the years to accept, while, that my cakes are not going to be perfect. Some of them will be perfect. And in a minute, I'm going to show you the perfect one and the imperfect ones. Same day, same ingredients, same oven, same person making them. So the point of all that is to tell you not to worry if it's not perfect, because it doesn't matter. It'll taste delicious. All right, so let's give it another beat. We want everything really, really well combined. Okay. Smells yum. You know, a bit of the chocolate now, a bit of the cocoa. Smells delicious. Oh, I love it. All right. And I'm on medium now. We can give it another minute or so on medium just to bring everything together. Well, not a minute, probably 20 seconds. All right, that's it. Cake is done. And for those of you who love to lick the bowl, this is a really, really good one. That's all I'll say. All right, so this tin, I have got my ring of baking paper in the bottom, which I don't always do. Last year I didn't do it, but then it's like nerve-wracking when you come to take it out of the tin, because with this one you would cut around the edges and tip it upside down and hope with all your hope that it comes out of the tin. Okay, here we go. So your tin is ready, lined if it's a loaf tin, sprayed if it is this tin. Your oven is on 180 and fully heated, and we're ready to pour. Okay. Before I do that, I'm going to give it one more go with my spatula just to make sure there are no bits stuck at the sides or the bottom. I mean, I could dive into this batter. It is just so luscious. Oh my God. It really is. All right, let's move this out of the way. Okay. Sorry that microphone's sitting there in the way. I just wanted the sound to be good. I hope it is. All right, here goes. This bowl is so heavy, actually. All right, ready? Can you see this? Looks amazing. Wow. And what I'm going to do, so can you see that it's only half full? I'm going to say maybe just over, but it does widen at the top, so it probably is half the volume. I'm just going to get every last bit out. Again, warning, do not overfill your tin, okay? Otherwise, you're going to send me an email and say, there's honey cake all over my oven and I don't know how to clean it. And I'll say, well, I did tell you, okay? So this is for whoever likes to lick the bowl. Remove it because I won't like the look of that. And now this is ready to go into the oven. I just want to show you. You can see it's very liquid. Okay, so I'm just going to clean up my bench and then we're going to go on. I'm going to show you the finished cake. Oven is ready. And cook it either on the bottom or the middle. This needs to go on the bottom because it's so big. Okay, I'm going to set the timer for 1 hour. You should set it for, I'll talk to you about time in a sec, okay? Give me 1 minute. Because it differs because of you. I mean, I should wait. I'm going to talk to you in a second. Hold on a second. I'm actually going to put it on for 55 minutes. Okay, I've put that on, but that's a big one. Okay, so let's talk cooking times. All I say to you is the first time you're making it, you need to watch your cake. So if you're doing a loaf tin, a small one like this takes about 40 minutes in my oven, okay, that size. I'll show you the finished one. Okay, 40 minutes, this one. But I do 3 at once, and that, yeah, it's 40 minutes, but my first batch took 45, the second batch took 39. So you've just got to start watching it towards the end of the cooking time. This one took 55 minutes because it's a bigger loaf. This is the size that you've probably made, which is the one that's the recipe quantity that's under the recipe. That's took about 50 minutes. This big one, so this is my best one. This is a good one. This is the one I made, and I'm really happy with that one. You can see it's still a tiny bit cracked at the top. It's still a bit warm. And it's what's interesting, my oven fan blows to the left, I see. So the cake is like skewed. It's so weird. But anyway, it actually doesn't matter. So that's a good one. Happy with that. And let me show you the bad one. So I ran out of tins. So I used this tin, which is a Pyrex heavy removable base one. I'm not sure that this is a good one. And you can see one little section of it there, right there where my thumb is, was not cooked. And so it's sunk in. So that's not my best cake. But I want to show you that I'm going to serve that. And I think it looks very rustic, right? And rustic's good, right? So don't be sad if your cakes aren't perfect. That's all I want to say to you. You can see the bottom leaked a tiny bit, which is why I have the foil. So that's, and that took an hour and 5 minutes. All right. Let me show you the inside because this is the best part. Now, I want to say that if your top of your cake, if you're not that happy with how it looks, I'm just going to move this over. If you think the top of your cake looks a bit craggly or craggy, whatever the word is, what's the word? Like that, don't you worry because we have icing sugar to cover all things, okay? But just be warned, sugar it at the last minute because otherwise it just keeps soaking in. So I'm going to just put my knife down the edges of this tin. I made this cake on maybe Sunday. What day is it? Or maybe, I think Sunday or Saturday. I can't remember. But days ago, okay? So this is it. This is the recipe quantity, as I said, that's under the video, okay? 2 eggs, etc. So what I would do to serve it is I actually leave it on the baking paper, sprinkle it with icing sugar. You could also sprinkle it with cocoa. And you know what? Now, looks lovely. You don't have to icing sugar it if you don't want. You could put some chocolate icing. You could put nothing. And let me show you the inside. It even sounds good. I don't know if you can hear that. But just have a look at this. I'm going to bring it up close to show you the texture of this cake. Because I forgot. This is my first one of the season. So just give me a minute to... It's just so good. Okay, this is such a great recipe. And I want to show you close up so you can see the texture of this cake. Just have a look. And just at the top, it gets like this sticky bit. It's just so, so delicious. Oh, hey, Carolyn, thanks for your message. That's lovely. And hey, Chris and Paul. Now I can read your names now that I'm close enough. Anyway, so this is the honey cake done. I've got to have a little taste, don't I? Because it really looks good. And if you really don't like the look of your cake when it comes out of the oven, you can always slice it to serve because it looks beautiful. That's really good. Sticky bits are the best bits, Chris, aren't they? Oh, my God, they're just unreal. I could just have a whole cake of sticky bits. So that is it from me. My cake is in the oven. I've put the timer on. I think you've seen everything you need to see, and you can now make the cakes that you want. Just don't be disheartened if it doesn't work the first time. Just try again, and once you do, you'll master it, and then it'll become your go-to honey cake. It's a really great recipe, and honestly, I have eaten a lot of honey cakes in my time, and I have not found one that I like more than this one. So, yeah, it's really good. Needs a cup of tea though, doesn't it? Guess what? I have a cup of tea. How lucky. I'm just going to stand here and eat cake for the next 10 minutes. Hold on. I'm not really. I hope that your cakes are in the oven. If they are, please will you send me a photo, put it on Instagram, Hey Lisa Goldberg, or write a comment here and send the photo on Facebook, whatever, however you like. I would really, really love to see how your honey cakes turn out. I hope you've had fun today. It's been great cooking with you, and I really, really can't wait to see your cakes. My kitchen is now a huge mess. Imagine 8 cakes in one day is quite a lot, and I need to go deal with all that now. But I want to wish all of you who are celebrating Jewish New Year, Happy New Year, Shana Tova or Metuka. And those of you who are not celebrating Jewish New Year, I just want to wish you a wonderful week and weekend. And please, please dive into this honey cake thing. It really is worth making. So that's it for me. Really nice to see everybody here again. Thank you all. Till next time. Bye.